Welcome back to Power Panel 365. This is your host, Star Coates. Today, we're going to be reading from the book of Matthew, Matthew 24, 36 through 51. I'm going to lead us into prayer very briefly. If everyone can bow their heads with me. Dear Father God, I ask that you give us the eyes, the ears, and the heart to receive this message. Let it be nourishing to us. Let us exempt these things in our daily lives and continue to share and spread the word amongst one another. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Okay, so once again, we're going to be going from the book of Matthew and the 24th chapter, verse 36 through 51. And I'm going to start with 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. And God does have a time clock. You know, the time is his. And Christ is saying here, not even his angels are aware of the day or the time. Nobody but God knows. Now we know the reason why this has come up is because Christ was asked, when was he going to come? So he's given us a description of what that would look like. And Christ says here in 37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And we know that the word says that Christ will come as east is to the west, that you will see him in the sky, every eye shall see him. And we see today that things are resembling the days of Noah. So it is not very hard to fathom or to imagine or to even see what Christ was saying would come to fruition, or that what he was saying is true. There's no doubt about it. 38, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Now, as we do understand that God did flood the earth because it was so wicked. And had he not stated that that was his reasoning for flooding the earth, it would just look like God created, mass murder or something like that. But he did not flood the earth because he just felt like it. He did that because there were things happening that he did not intend to be created, or he did not intend for people to be doomed. So there was such wickedness going on. And I know that some of those things, like Genesis 6 and 6, would be very helpful to those that want to understand what was happening in Noah's day. Let's see. So we do know that Jesus is correct in what he says, such as the things that are going on in the world today. We're seeing floods all over the place, and those things do resemble Noah's day. The water and the flooding alone is a sign to us. And the magnitude that it's, how it's happening very rapidly all over the world. So it's not just in the United States that it's flooding. it's flooded in Africa and Indonesia and different various places throughout the world. And some places are worse than the other. Let's see. And so we're going to go to 39. And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So Christ is telling us it just as rapidly and as fast as the people didn't know that flood was coming, and they're not going to know that Christ is coming either. He's going to come back just as if that flood was coming. you know, and anything coming like a flood, 40, then shall be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. And I found a lot of things that resemble this time that we're seeing. People still working out in the fields, people still dying out in the fields. And I did my best to try to recreate that as if, Christ is saying this to create just a picture for you guys to recognize what it would look like to see two people working in the field and one being taken away and the other one left behind. 41, 2 women shall be grinding at the mill. The one shall be taken and the other left. And when I tried to go through and find a lot of imagery for people grinding at the mill, it just seemed to be a lot of African descended people that were doing this. And it's actually within their culture, a lot of their African background cultures, to grind their own meal, whether it be like a barley or wheat or something like that. They have a technique that they use to crush it up. If they don't have the tools to stand and grind it, they'll kneel down and they'll grind it together on fine or flatter rock or stone. So they have a way of doing that. And I found it ironic that you can find a lot of imagery of women, doing it. Even within their cultural depictions, like paintings, you see the women doing it. Okay. And 42, watch therefore, for ye not know what hour the Lord do come. So he's telling you, be watchful. You better watch out. And some of us do need to slow down the way that we live, because you don't know if that's going to be your last time doing that deed or, living the way that you want to live for you. So you do need to be watchful. 43, but know this, if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would have not suffered his house to be broken up. And that verse is very clear. He's saying the good man. So the man of the house, if he had stayed up to watch to see if a thief was coming, he would have been full prepared. And we know people, especially here in the United States, a lot of people are carriers, and they will, protect their house, protect themselves. And of course, just like anybody, if you know that a thief is going to come and rob you, you're going to stay up and you're going to watch. So Christ here, when he says, what watch the thief would come. He's meaning what hour. Just as such as military people when they are told you have to, keep watch at, such as, or it's your time to keep watch, and they're meaning a specific time and hour and so on. Okay. Now 44. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So he's telling you to be watchful. And as soon as you think he's not going to come, as soon as you think he's not going to come, he will come. 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord had made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season. So one of the things that I was saying as well is that the Lord, he has stated that he will bless those and make them rulers over his house. And as we know, Christ is going to come back to rule and reign. So that is one of our duties. The world is in our hands, so to speak, as well. And not to say it's in our hands like God, but our duty and our job was to go out the world and spread the gospel. 46. Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. So the Lord is saying that the people that are going to be blessed are his servants, the ones, the servants of God that are still praising, that are still getting folks saved, still going to church, still winning souls over to Christ. Those people are going to be blessed. 47. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. And I just love the fact that I found some cool imagery holding the globe, because that right there is that is one of the duties that has been given to us as believers or saints of God. Our duty was to spread the gospel throughout all the world, and for God to give you that and bless you, because he does say that there will be those that will inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. So if he's giving you things and all of his goods, and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be worldly, but it could be spiritually as well, because he does say, lay up your treasures in heaven. And there's, whoever has different, may have a different translation of that. But he makes it very plain here about what he's going to do and how he will reward. 48. But, and if that evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming. So, you do have wicked servants. You have people, especially those that are of faith, like preachers. They sometimes can get besides themselves and not, see the benefit of continuing on in the faith. And they do kind of sway, and not just the people that are inside the church, but on the outside as well. Members, anybody of Christ really can go in that direction and start to behave in a contradictory way to what they say that they believe. showing signs that they have fallen off or that they don't care anymore. And some of them do run back into a worldly type of lifestyle. Um, let's see, 49, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken. So even I even have experienced people that say that they are of the faith, that they begin to attack those, what Christ saying here, fellow servants of God. They get jealous at the things that they're doing. They're very hypocritical. Um, and you do see that kind of change, and it's not just inside the church, but on the outside as well. There are people that have experienced that kind of thing. So God is not, his word does not lie, just he does not lie about what would happen. 50, the Lord of that servant shall come in a day, and when he looketh not for him, in an hour that he is not aware of. And the Lord is saying that the servant, the Lord of that servant will come, and he'll come when he does not expect that he will return. And he will have remedy for that, of course. So in 51, we read here, the remedy, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I've given you guys many examples of living for you, and it results in going to hell, or doing things that are contradictory to the way that the Lord would like us to live, and ending up going to hell for those things. So you reap what you sow. And I'm giving you many examples. The word says that hell has enlarged itself. And the one thing, and hell is in the earth as well. So what the word states. There is one place that really reminds me of what hell would be like, and it's the Karakum Desert. They have discovered that this hole in the ground is getting larger and larger and larger, and as well as hot. The heat has been really high, and they've tried to do everything that they could to put that fire out, and they still can't. And it's ironic because those couple scriptures that I just named, hell has enlarged itself and hell is in the earth, reminds me of that place. And many people go out just like they do the Grand Canyon. They go and they visit the place whenever they can, and if permitted, if it's not closed off or something like that, they go out there just to take a look at it. But that if people understood and knew that your lifestyle can result you ending up in hell, they would change. I'm an understanding that sometimes it doesn't work that way. Not everybody is taught correctly. And sometimes we put more at church, we put more focus on the tithes and offering. And I've personally heard people say that if you preach on hell, the offering will be really low because then you'll be offending people. But Christ said it better than me. Blessed is he whom is not offended in me. So we know that the word is not something that you just use lightly, or you just use it to really hurt people. Um, but if you're not told what you're doing wrong, you won't make a change. So this is one of my personal favorite texts, scriptural texts that um, asks Christ, when is he coming back, or what's going to happen, and so on. And he's given us a very um, nice, actually, description of what it would be like, as well as what we would be seeing from people, the behaviors that we should expect, um, as well as what his remedy would be. And as we know, Christ, he gives very great parables. He's always speaking in parables. And he said that he spoke that way purposefully because he knew that there would be people listening to him. And he didn't want them to really get it or understand because their problem was their heart. And he was saying, lest they be, changed. And, or at least at any point in time, unless they be changed or be converted, excuse me. So this is something for you all you can go home and study it a little more if you like. Or if you're just fine, with the few minutes that you're getting here, that's okay too. But this does elude, just as I said before, if you want to check out Genesis 6:6, that would give you a clue to what he said about as in the days of Noah. Thank you all for being here with me and tuning in to Power Panel 365. May the Lord bless you.